Hey, what up, fam? This is Sahr, host of Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. I just want to say a huge shout out to our Africans in Tech fam, whether you are following us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, following us on TikTok, or listen to us through the Apple Podcasts. Really want to say thank you for, tuning in. If you're interested in being part of the podcast, feel free to DM us directly on Instagram. You can leave a comment somewhere and we'll get back to you. Or you can email us directly at africansintechnology@gmail.com. Again, it's africansintechnology@gmail.com. Hit us up and we'll be in touch, fam. Hey, what's up, fam? This is Sahr, host of Africans in Tech. I told you all that if you have any questions and whatnot, feel free to hit us up. We got a question from one of our followers, TK, and it's a comment/question. So he basically says, what is the difference between contracting and full-time roles? And basically also understanding that perspective of being a contractor and what the implications are. So contracting versus full-time. We'll talk about that first. So as a contractor, you can be a full-time contractor, meaning that you're working for a company. Let's say you want to work at Walmart. You're a contractor for, let's say, Tech Systems. They're recruiting company, and they hire you. You work for Tech Systems, but you're contracted to Walmart. So what that means is that you are performing a service, just like think about any contracting company you hire, you're performing a service to do a job for Walmart. Whereas if you're full-time, meaning that Walmart hired you directly, you're working for them, you get benefits and all that other jazz through Walmart. Working with Tech Systems from a contracting side, you can still get benefits as well, and they can offer you that or you can decline. It's up to you. There are two sort of things there from a contracting perspective. You can contract directly as yourself, the individual, or you can contract as a 1099, meaning that you as a person are basically like your own company, whereas you contract yourself out to Tech Systems and you're your own entity versus Tech Systems, you're part of their family now and you're doing work for Walmart. So there's the two caveats there. I don't have a preference either way. It's up to you, whichever one makes sense, and I'm not going to recommend any sort of route there, but it's just important to know the difference there. The same thing applies when it comes to government contracting standpoint. So if you are working for the government, whether you're contracting yourself individually or you are being represented through an LLC, S corp, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. So just know that there's a difference there, and of course the tax implications there applies as well. So hopefully that answers the questions there a little bit. And then the last thing I would say is when it comes to the contracting standpoint, of course it's a full-time. It's not that it's impossible, but it's less likely that you would be laid off for XYZ reasons. Company really needs to go through some hurdles and challenges and whatnot. Whereas if you are a contractor, again, it's a contract, right? So if they're not either satisfied with the work or, they don't have enough funding or something else happens, new management comes over, they want to terminate that contract, at any point in time, your job is subject to termination. Now, typically contracts are, for a certain period of time, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, year, 5 years, whatever it is, they're allotted for a certain amount of time, and there's a billet or there's budget allotted for that. So you typically don't have to worry about that, but just know that that is a possibility and a reality. The last thing I would say, with that is, even though there is a possibility and reality with that, generally contracts are stable depending on the company, and you can look up information around how a company exercises contracts. There's a lot of Googling and YouTube reviews and whatnot out there about that. Glassdoor has pretty good reviews and stuff like that out there as well for that. So just be careful in terms of like what you choose, and how you choose to go about, leveraging, whatever skills you are, and how you, decide to perform that. So hopefully that answers TK's question. Just looking through it again. Yeah, the last thing he says, like, people are devastated oftentimes when they lose contracts, which, yeah, it is the case. If you're not prepared and you're working for a company and, that's like you're in and everything, right? It can suck. And I know a lot of people who've lost contracts, last minute for no good reason at all, whether it's management or company, find out that they didn't have the money that they thought they had, or they lose out on prospective funds that they were expecting. Again, it's subject to their discretion. So be wise in what you choose to do, fam. Hey, are you enjoying the content? Hit that notification bell and that subscribe button if you want to find out more when our latest videos drop, including our whiteboard sessions. All right, fam. So another piece is, what would I advise if people are putting their eggs in like just one basket? It's a tricky question. And this is, getting into a bit of like tricky subject here with moonlighting and all that other jazz. So moonlighting, if you don't know, is like working multiple, gigs, contracts, whatever it is at a time. Companies are going to do what's best for companies. People are going to do what's best for them. I'm not advising one way or another how to do that, but I will say that there are direct and implicit stipulations on what a company allows and what they don't allow. But you as an individual need to make sure that if you are putting all your eggs in one basket to a company, just know that you're putting yourself at risk there. You can get a part-time, you can work off hours, you can do other things to, increase your income flow or your, different, income vehicles. My suggestion is that you look at ways to, multi-thread your income sources, right? So what that means is if you got to get a part-time job, if you got to work two jobs, work a nighttime, whatever it is, like do that. If you got to work maybe a different kind of role that's not in direct competition, because a lot of companies, they have NDAs, well, not NDAs, but they have non-competes where you can't do the same exact thing for another competitor, which makes sense because you don't want to build the same thing for another competitor than making that competitor just as good as them. But you can work for another company that does something completely different, and they typically don't mind that. So that's something that you can also pursue. Sometimes you can go through HR; they'll give you their directions on that. Other times, is as long as you don't see something implicitly that says you can't do that, then it's fair game. But yeah, I would just be wise about putting all your eggs in one basket. Even if you're full time, that's not always a guarantee. I know people who are really big on the total compensation, where you've probably seen these street reviews where they talk about, oh yeah, I make 200, 300,000, 500,000. A lot of that is in stocks, right? But if a company's stocks tank, guess what? Your total compensation tanks as well. Now, of course, if it goes up, the alternative is, hey, your compensation goes up as well. So there's, of course, nuances there as well. When it comes to negotiating like your salaries and things like that, I would do that up front, and I would research that up front before you get into interviews and before you do any negotiations. Don't typically take the first number. Now, I'm not saying if you are satisfied with the first number, don't take it. If you're satisfied with it, take it. But if you're not satisfied with it and, there's more out there, then push the envelope a little bit more. But just be smart about the way that you do that. And again, research. Glassdoor, levels.fyi. There's a bunch of sites out there that have information about what you should be getting paid based upon like your job description and your levels. If that's what applies depending on what company you're with. So hopefully I've answered your questions there. If you have any more questions in regards to pay, negotiations, things like that, feel free to hit us up at africanstechnology@gmail.com, or you can DM us via Instagram, or just leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Again, my name is Sahr. This is Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping the futures in tech. All right, fam.